our property tax revenues. So just property tax, doesn't have any donations, doesn't have any grant money or any monies for, operations that the park does, like for fees and facility use. So these are just strictly park revenues in the three different voted levies. And you can see over time that our property tax revenues do not meet our costs. So it's imperative that we have grants and donations because what we're asking of the voters does not cover our costs. So it shows you that variance, and it shows the growth or averages and percent annual changes of the various types of expenditures. So I think that is...
So where does this 22 number
Yes.
is 11 million?
Right.
And so we're 6.5 million shy of, how do we afford that?
We're able to, we have enough in prior year fund balance in 22. Going forward in 23, if we are not made whole with our property tax that the voters have approved, in 23 we cannot sustain, especially at less than $5 million.
Right.
So, and then just to kind of, that 11 million, I highly doubt we're going to spend that much, especially as a new fiscal officer coming in and inheriting the budget. This is kind of for me as a fiscal officer to see how appropriations and budget. So that 11 million is definitely high. So what we'll probably come in around that $9 million, $10 million mark. But again, we're not being able to cover. So as I said in my memo, we're not made whole by the Budget Commission, by the state for our appeal. We're gonna have to go back to the voters. We can't sustain what was cut by the Budget
So
Commission.
where are we at with our legal case?
It's pending.
Huh?
It's pending, briefing will be
And
done.
we shared these numbers with that commission.
We can share them.
This is the most clear-cut example of, you don't have a single year. You'd have to go back to the year 2000 to see where we spent less than 6 million.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, 22 years demonstrates the need.
Absolutely.
What do you want to say about the parks, whichever your position is? These numbers, you've been consistently spending 1.2 million on operations. You've consistently spent 4 million on wages. And the simplest capital project is going to be $1 million to $2 million. So right there, you're at 7 million without getting a grant to help you in the process. So I think it's imperative that we send a cover letter and explain what we went back and did, and that these are audited numbers at the state, from the state. And it clearly demonstrates the need.
And it definitely will. And I think what is the frustrating thing is with, up until June of last year, the county auditor was the park district's fiscal agent. They had this information, they knew this.
Right. So.
Yeah, I think, go ahead. decision was made, and that was one of the things that was shocking about our appearance on August 16th, is we had a plan in place that day showing examples of capital improvement projects. And the other thing I want to mention, as a tenured employee and some newer board members, throughout this document, the document expresses the will of the voters to do General Park District. It expresses the intent of donors. It expresses the intent of donor campaigns, using examples even back before I became executive director. The Westwoods Land campaign, the Observatory Park campaign. When I came along as executive director, the Board of Park Commissioners had asked me and staff to get parks that were sitting inaccessible to the voters, to our residents, get them open to the public. An example of that is the purchase of what is now Clarendon Woodlands, was purchased in 1994, 1995. We opened it as a park, make nature accessible in 2014. So throughout this document, whether it was the vote of the taxpayers, the donor campaigns, wonderful grants written by this staff and staff that had preceded them, we've done what the residents of this county have supported. So, yeah, here we are.
I met with Keith Farber, the state auditor, and he said he'd like to get involved. So whatever you write up, if you could copy him on it. And he's trying at his level to get Mr. Water to see the light of day.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Jennifer, wonderful job.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments on this one's presentation?
Great job.
Now, we'll go ahead and move on to new business, planning and operations update. Spring is trying to arrive. I hear rumors of 2 inches of snow today and tomorrow, but we are ready to go with some projects. They're listed there. Some are carry over and completion of last year's projects, but Matt McHugh, our deputy director, is here if you have any questions on the projects as we jump into the 2022 construction season.
So the summary that I put in the board packet is basically all the planned major capital improvement and restoration projects we have going. Some of them are at different stages. Beaver Creek, that's a carryover from last year. We got some plantings and stuff we're finishing up this year. But the other projects, the original bid award, if it's 0 right now, those are projects that we haven't awarded or haven't yet begun. So.
Can we hold off on the roof for another year?
With any capital improvement, the longer we wait, it's just gonna cost more money probably. That particular project, we had to rebid. I would not recommend holding off because we're already dealing with the one area, we had issues last winter where it completely is rotted through and it's only 20 years old. That's up to the board. I would not recommend holding off, but that's your decision.
That's one of our largest facilities, and so I recommend awarding it. Any other questions on the projects?
Now, but is this a bid that came in at 343 for that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if there's no questions on the summary, if you guys want to move to the next.
Yeah, we'll jump right into that next. Contract award for Westwoods Nature Center roofing project. Board of Park Commissioners on March 30, 2022, 6 lump sum bids were received for the Westwoods Nature Center roofing project. Parent low bidder is A-Star Architectural Siding, Trim, and Roofing Incorporated. Base bid of $343,925. It's recommended that the board accept this bid of $343,925 for the contract for the Westwoods. This recommendation is based on the following items. The submitted bids have been reviewed and determined to be complete. Submitted bid is within the budget amount of $625,000. After checking the references, it is apparent that A-Star is a reputable and fiscally responsible company in Ohio,